We are going to learn today about principle-centered leadership. Is it really necessary for success? What does the word principle mean? A fundamental truth that serves as a foundation for a system of belief or behavior, an accepted or professed rule of action. The Hoffmans have raised their girls on the concept that if you follow a principle that God created you to live by, all will go well in your life, because you were created to succeed. You were literally created to succeed. It says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and give you a future. So there is no guesswork in the fact that you were created to succeed. So that is the first principle you have to believe in. And if you violate a principle of a thing, you are going to, the thing, no matter what it is, if you violate the principle of a cell phone and you go swimming with it, that's not how it was made. It will ruin the performance of that cell phone. So we're going to look at principles that are meant to operate you, operate your life and your success, and see if there's some things that you don't know about why you're possibly stuck. When a product or a person operates outside of its design, it disables, malfunctions, disables its ability to succeed. And a lot of times you're doing things and you're not connecting your doing to your having, because you just keep doing and chopping that tree down and chopping that tree down. But the principle is sharpen the axe. The principle is use a different tool. The principle is be consistent. So there's some principles possibly that aren't alive in your life that are causing you not to have the expected end that you're having. Very much frustration, and we hope that we can eliminate that today. All right, we talked last week. A principle of an airplane, when it takes off on its not descent, but it's taking off. John, what's the word? When an airplane, a pilot is taking its plane off the ground, it can't take it to 20% thrust, or even 30 or 50 or even 80% thrust. If you're a passenger on this plane, it takes it to 80% thrust, the tip of the plane is going to fall forward and you are going to crash. So there's principles that follow how a pilot must follow these certain principles in order to have the success to get the plane off the ground and to its destination. There's no difference with you and your success, you and your marriage, you and your parenting, you and your health, you and your finances. All of these things relate to principles. And so we have seen great fruit in our family, our girls, amidst the mess of the world out there, because they were raised inside of them is this GPS system, you might say. I call it a God protection system that tells them, no, don't go that direction. Yes, go that direction. No, don't hang out with that person. No, don't even receive that information or that mindset or that philosophy that person's speaking. That's not truth. I'm not going to receive that into my life, because that will produce a very undesirable outcome. It's not the truth. So they will push that back and protect themselves from what goes into their mind, into their heart, into their life, into their environment. So here's an example of a plane. Let's look at this. What about this guy? Well, the purpose of this playground is for children. So he's not operating in accordance to the principles of the playground. And so he's got a little bit of a problem. Can you see that? Okay, how about this? Whoa, a purpose of a car is to go drive on the road. We have no idea how in the world that car got into the top of that roof. But when you drive a car somehow on top of a roof, it is not a good thing, and you're violating the principles of the purpose of a car, which should be driven on a road to take a person from point A to point B. So there's a goofy little situation that is a violation of what it was made for. Okay, how about this? If you had a piece of cactus, you want to grow cactus, you want to be successful in growing cactus, but you put the cactus up in Alaska. So cactus has a principle that you can be successful growing cactus, but you have to follow the principles of how to grow cactus, and that means you put cactus in the desert. You don't put it into the Alaskan snow. So that would be a violation, and in the success of your cactus farm would be very null and void, because you violated the actual principles that create the success of the cactus farm. So that's what we're talking about today. We're looking at how is a thing meant to operate, and if you don't operate, can a team of people living by wrong principles actually prosper? And some people think you can. So I'm a drug dealer, and I have lots of money, and I drive really nice cars, but I live by wrong principles, and it looks like I'm prospering. But am I prospering? I could be killed any day. I could have people lying to me. I have no truth coming out of my life. There's no stability. I live in fear. That is not prospering. We're not talking about that. How about the guy that is a billionaire? Okay, he's prospering. Maybe he's kind of shady. He cuts corners on deals and everything. He works 90 hours a week. He never sees his family. He's on his 5th marriage. Nobody respects him except the kind of people that see the outside and not the inside. But we don't even count that as respect. So that isn't prospering. He has no family life. He has no respect. He has done it in his heart. He knows the truth about how he has prospered. So he may have material things. So material things do not tell you that you've prospered. Okay, so we're looking at, Jeff Bell was on a call with us, and he said, one God, one wife, one career. That was to him prosper. So that's a prosper statement. And that's like, you can tell what his integrity is. You can tell what he believes in. So we're going to look at this because possibly you may be from here to maybe here, and you're not prospering further because some principles are not operating in your life. So let's look at what that will do for your success. A product is always, first of all, this is a principle you must agree with. A product is always, 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 end of story, always designed to succeed, but it must follow the principles of its design. Like the plane is designed to go from point A to point B through the sky. But if it doesn't follow the principles of how the pilot launches the plane into the air safely, lands the plane by putting the landing gear down, et cetera, and all the principles from point A to point B, that success will be ruined, okay? He will disable that success. So our success, our purpose is to love God, love people, be fruitful with what's inside of us, and by serving others. That kind of simplifies what we're supposed to do. If you do that, if you love people enough to present Legal Shield because you care for them, to save money, save time, have their business, their life, their family, the employees of a company live worry-free, you understand that, and you're going to be motivated to love people more than you're living by fear of rejection. So if you understand your purpose is to love people, then you'll push past the self-centered things, which are rejection, and you'll actually go and let them know about this product, about this service, and that will in turn roll over to being fruitful because your focus is serving others and not yourself. Because if you're focused on what you might get to know, that's serving yourself. That's not thinking about another. So that would be a violation to the way you were created. So those are this is kind of how this all plays out. So our purpose is to love God, love people, be fruitful, and serve others. And if you're living by your purpose, you will have a great and beautiful expected end. Our design. Now, when God created you, or when Mercedes created their car, or when Boeing created a plane, or when Apple created a phone, they put inside the product everything necessary to accomplish its purpose. Nothing is missing. Okay, now you're going to go, wait a minute, my life hasn't worked out, and I'm going to tell you why, all right? But I want to, first you have to understand, you do right now as we are speaking on the phone, have everything you need to accomplish your purpose. Here's the problem. We are designed to, this is a kind of detailed, but we are designed to succeed, not fail. We are designed to be leaders, not followers. We are designed to serve others above ourselves, not to serve self above others. So maybe that's where you're missing it. We're designed to live by faith. We are not designed to live by fear. People go, oh, fear is normal. No, it's not normal. So if you think fear is normal, then you've accepted a lie. You're living inside of that lie, and you're not producing. It's actually disabling you, or I call what I say, you are malfunctioning. The product that you were created to live by on the left side, you're living in fear. On the right side, God did not give you a spirit of fear, but power, love, and sound mind. So if you have fear in your life, I know something is malfunctioning inside of you. You have actually accepted a lie, and you're living it out. Okay, so living by fear. By the way, in the Bible, there are 365 times it says, do not fear. So that's literally every day God wants you to know not to fear, but live by faith. All right, we are designed to live with integrity, not live dishonestly. Living with integrity, what does that mean? When I say to a client, I walk into a small business, I say, I'm going to call you the next day, or I'm going to send you an email tonight, and I don't send that email for a week, that's not integrity. If I say, I'm going to call you, I'm going to bring something over, I'm going to show up, I'll be at that meeting to support you, and I don't show, that's not living with integrity. That's actually dishonesty. So those are kind of things that whatever you say, let your words be true. You know, mean what you say and say what you mean. All right, the next one, be bold and courageous. Bold and courageous. We're literally made and designed to be bold and courageous. We are not designed to be anxious and timid. If you're anxious and timid, the reason you're anxious and timid is because you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about what if this happened? What if they said no? What if they don't want me? What if they don't date me? What if I can't find a husband? What if I can't, I don't get this group account by the end of the month? And I want to, let me just explain that one right there. There is somebody that was so anxious about getting a group pushed through by the end of the month, so they, self, could get the counters, that their anxious behavior, which is not how we're designed, it's a malfunction of your success, disabling your success, that anxious behavior pushed towards the company, and the company literally said, go away from me, I don't want to do business with you. They literally lost their account because they were malfunctioning, and they disabled their success because they were anxious and serving their self above others. And the company's, what was best for the company is to have an enrollment, let's say the first week of November. What was best for them is the end of October. So they were pushing, trying to persuade them for their own self reasons, and thus they lost the count completely. So there would be an example of disabling your success. Being disciplined versus, we're created to be disciplined, versus being lazy. Jesus comes up to the fig tree is not producing figs. He literally curses it because he knew the fig tree was designed, like you were designed to succeed. The fig tree was designed to do something, to be fruitful, and it wasn't producing a fruit, and he was hungry. So he cursed it. So it's not like he went, oh, you poor fig tree, you're just not producing the thing that you're meant to produce. He didn't say that. It's not okay to be lazy and not be productive. You are created to produce something and to go see people. If this is Legal Shield is the career that you've chosen, you really have to look at this from the idea of the principles that operate in our heart. And one of the goals for us as parents is that our girls are governed in their heart. Meaning, what that means is when we're not around, their heart governs them. The principles that we have taught them in their heart govern their daily behaviors. So when they're at a party and cocaine is there or marijuana is there at a party, we know that their heart will govern them. The principles that they've been trained up in will govern them to make the right choice. So that's where discipline, that's where this whole idea to be designed, not to, oh, do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. We never talk about the don't do's. We talk about who you really are, and then it becomes a reality. So that way the key is when you say, oh, I'm going to call 10 people a day, and you say that out of your mouth, and then you call one person a week, that is not living with integrity, that's not bold and courageous, that's not discipline, that's not persevering. All of the design, you're malfunctioning, and you know it. So inside yourself, you don't even have the confidence in you because you've lied to you. And that's the first person you got to be honest with is you. So anyways, that's the key is that what you do when no one is looking lines up on the left side. So on the left side of the screen, whatever you see there is what you're created to be like when no one is looking. So that you're being what you are created to be like because it's the right thing to do and it's who you really are. It's not to get recognition. It's not to get something. It's literally just to be who you were created to be. And then you trust the system, trust the one that made you, that if you become what you were created to be, you will have the fruit coming out of you. And it's a side effect. If you seek first the kingdom of God and its right ways of living, then all of these things shall be added unto you. So it's like a side effect of the left side. All right, persevere, be intentional, live in freedom, not live in bondage. The be intentional thing is a big deal. Be intentional about your day. Be intentional about making those calls. Be intentional about serving people. Be intentional about being the #1 person in the city when you go going back to your companies and bringing cookies to your companies. Brielle just went to all of her companies, and they just loved her. And she just won the Chamber of Knoxville account, so the Chamber of Knoxville is now doing business exclusively with Brielle because her relationships and her integrity, and people are just like, wow. And she just talked to the top radio show. She went out to lunch with him yesterday and said, I want to be on your show. Well, of course she can say that because she knows she's walking on the left side. She's being intentional. She's bold and courageous. She's got integrity. People want to work with individuals that are like that. So she has that confidence to say to a guy who is the #1 radio talk show person in Knoxville, hey, Hilton, I want to be on your show. And he goes, great. She goes, and then Brielle says, can I have lunch with you? So that happened this week. It happened yesterday or Wednesday. And so ask and you shall receive. That's another principle we've taught our kids. All right, speak life to people versus gossip about people. How about that? What if you're doing the gossip about people and you're critical and you wonder why your success isn't happening? You're disabling your success. You are literally pouring poison into your future, because what comes out of your mouth towards other people matters. It matters. If you're speaking life about people and whatever is good and right, and we're going to get to that, the formula for how you operate on the left side. And the final thing, so I'm going to wait on that, be fruitful and multiply versus non-productive. All right, so if your original design has been stolen, what do you do? So what if the left, you're more on the right side than you are on the left side? That, first of all, the good news is you weren't created to be on the right side, so that's okay. Don't feel condemnation. You were created to be on the left side, so what do? Get the product fully restored. If I have a Mercedes that's not working, I take it to the Mercedes shop. If the plane's not working, it goes into Boeing. If the Apple phone's not working, you take it to the Apple phone, and they fix it. So you need to go and renew your mind to the truth. What truth? The truth about who you really are and who God created you to be. Then, 2, get into agreement with that, not with what your teacher said, your parents said, your neighbor said, your ex-husband said, all those kind of things. No, 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 no. That's not what this is saying. We want to go very back to the original design and purpose of your life, which is to love God, love others, be fruitful, and to serve others. And the last one, commit to the principles. All these principles that you learn about who you really are, commit to those principles, living those principles out, and then create a new normal. The key is that you be it. It's not like you do it. You are it. Eventually, you are that person that walks in faith versus walks in fear. You develop it like a muscle that's never been used. So if you don't use a muscle, it becomes atrophied, and you wonder why you have no strength. Well, in the same way, you've been living on that wrong side possibly. So what do we do, and how do we get to the other side and live by the way we were created? Think, speak, and live out this principle. It's called the Philippians 4:8 principle, to get free from the enemy of your purpose. Whatever is, and literally these 5 things, I would memorize them. Whatever is true and right and pure, of good report, excellent, or praiseworthy. Think on and do these things. So if I get somebody at a briefing, they walk up to me and they start telling me something bad about another person. First of all, that report is not a good report. It could not be true. There's potential it isn't true. It's not right. It surely isn't pure to talk about someone else. It's not excellent, so I'm not feeling good inside, and it's not praiseworthy to be talking bad about another associate. Maybe they didn't make executive director. Maybe they, lost an account. Maybe who knows what it was that wasn't good. But that's not positive. That's not true, right, pure, of good report. So I don't go there. I say no. I say I resist you. I'm not speaking about that. I'm not going to live on that side. I am not created for that. I'm created to think and to do whatever is true, right, pure, of good report, excellent, or praiseworthy. And if you follow this simple principle, your life will change. Okay, so we are designed to live on the left side, not the right side, but here's the deal. We got these two, if you have two dogs, you got the white dog, which is going to lead you to the good things. You got the black mean dog, which is devouring your life and devouring your purpose. Whatever you starve will eventually die. So don't be feeding the black, ugly dog. All right, so don't feed it. Don't feed it with your thoughts. Don't feed it with your environment. Don't feed it with the TV shows you watch. Don't feed it at all. Starve it, starve it, starve it. And it will be odd for you if you're used to being critical and gossipy, if you're used to talking about all your bondage and everything that goes wrong and you're victim-centered. That's going to be weird to say, no, I'm not created for that. I'm going to speak life about people. I don't care how I feel inside. My emotions do not dictate my actions. I'm going to choose to live by principles regardless of how I feel and believe that that outcome that God created us for, I'm going to believe in what he designed us for, and then he says if you just seek that first in your life, all these things will be added onto you. The accounts, the new associates that want to be in your business, they will be attracted to you because of the way that you are living and the principles you live by. So if you get better, your team will get bigger. Forget about your old life. Forget about it. Turn from it. Put your hand to the plow and go forward. This thing, one thing I know, not looking back. Do not look back. Today is the day the Lord has made. Move on and go forward to your new life. And some things that are just not supposed to be in your life, just say, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not critical. I don't gossip. That's not me. I wasn't designed that way. This doesn't belong in my life. You're going to go. And that's kind of how you look at it. The choice is yours. Every day you're going to have that chance. And let me tell you, if you are a gossiper, let's say, and you got a critical spirit about things, and you're always like complaining about the company or complaining about the product or complaining about your briefings or complaining about your accounts, literally, I think, I forgot who told me the story, they went to somebody's, they have a bunch of accounts, and it was a company, and they got invited into their party or something. And they went to that particular party that has all these business accounts, and they heard all the reps talking bad about all their accounts. And it was a very strange experience for this person because, wow, what if you were one of their business accounts, and then they go and they act all smiley to your face, oh, I care about you, I care about you, let me sell you advertising or let me sell you something. And then I go back to the office and we all make fun of all of our accounts. That is not okay. That's not a choice that you should make. All right, but you can make that choice. And if you make that choice, it's like you think you're getting away with something, like that voice isn't heard out there, and it is. That voice is heard. Whether you know it in your heart and it disables you, and your fruit and your blessing is disabled, or your favor is disabled in the marketplace, it is absolutely going to disable your success. Okay, so the principle is the choice that you can make. The world is waiting to meet the principle-centered leader that is in you. It is in you already. It is alive, it's in you, you're created that way, it's at your core, but you may be malfunctioning right now, that's okay. We're waiting to see the truth in you come out. And so how have you been living by principles that have created success for you? John Brielle, are you on the phone now, and can you take over? I'll pass it off to you.
Hey there. Hey, just great stuff, man. I get a chance to share some of this here at the Orlando conference, and just so excited just about just the principles that we get a chance to live by. And Darcy, I like how you put that, we can, if we just starve, that isn't working, if we starve that isn't right, it will die. It does take a choice, and it does, kind of reminds me of the pivot point, Darcy, that you talked about so many times. We're going to have a pivot point, 10, 15, 20, 30 times a day. And when we get to that pivot point, we're going to move toward the right way of thinking or the wrong way of thinking. And, with webinars like this, where our awareness goes is where our energy is going to go. And you continue to, Darcy, do such a great job elevating that awareness side toward the right thinking and moving away from the wrong thinking. So really, I just got a whole host of notes and numerous examples of people. I'll give one example. There was a young lady who called us. And this kind of speaks to the principles that are in every single one of us and how we can exercise those principles like Darcy was just talking about. But a group producer called me one time and was crying because her sponsors were trying to get her to become a recruiter. All right? The sponsors who were living in the world of self and not living in the world of other people. In other words, they were more concerned about their interests, serving their self and their interests, than they were serving the interests of the group producer. This person, probably one of the best group producers I've seen, one of the best presenters I've seen, anywhere from, 30 memberships a month to, maybe 60, 70 memberships a month. And they were trying to move her out of what she was designed and what she was purposed to do. Anyhow, we were fortunate to be able to, get the communications fixed and get things taken care of. But, there was somebody who was operating in the principles of what they were designed to do, loved what they were operating in, and yet were being distracted from that potential and that purpose that was in them. At the same time, it became a learning moment for the folks who were trying to change what this person was accomplishing, and just across the board, great things happen from both sides of it. But that's the importance of where we're all at with these types of things, and so and just good examples across the board, Laura. So I don't know, I can't see the screen. I'm not on the webinar, and I got a few distractions down here, but if Brielle's out there, Brielle, why don't you share a couple of comments you might have?
Hey, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm driving here in the rain, so hopefully I don't lose you. But awesome webinar. Just once again, I'm just always blown away at just the basic but profound truths that are always shared. And if we would just simply apply them to our lives and our business, things would change completely. I love the idea of starving the negativity, starving the bad fruit in our lives. But I think it's just as important when we starve the bad fruit to feed the positive fruit. And, when we starve the bad fruit, maybe it's the negative thoughts, it's the I can't, it's the what ifs, it's the all that. We replace it with the positive of the truth of who we are in Christ and what we can accomplish, and that is that we are a success. We can do all things through Christ. That this account, we have favor with this account, and those different things. And so I think that part of my conversation with this radio show host the other day was it's so important what you are feeding yourself, because if you're not feeding yourself, you're not able to feed others. So if you are constantly, wanting to pour out, but you're never pouring into yourself and people's not pouring into you, you're not going to be able to give the measure that you want to give because you're not taking time to pour into yourself. And so I think that just goes back to positive thinking and charging yourself up for the potential that God's created you for. So incredible webinar, Mom. There's so much awesome stuff. And I'll throw it back to you to go after some other people.
Okay, Marv Worthy, you're out there. Thanks, Brielle. That was awesome. Marv, would you like to make some comments?
Oh, definitely. Thanks a lot. Wonderful.
Somebody, John, is that you? The phone that's all over, or Trish? Somebody needs to mute their phone, please.
Hello?
Okay, go ahead, Marv.
Fantastic. I'm reminded when you talk about the whole idea of being selfless instead of being selfish. I'm reminded of something I read when I was a graduate student. It said, 100 years from now, it will not matter how much money was in my bank account, the kind of car I drove, or even the kind of house I lived in, but the world may be different because I made a difference in the life of someone else. And what I love about what we do, at least this team, is that we recognize how significant it is for us to move not only with integrity, but with selflessness. I can't tell you how many times I've been in front of someone going over the consumer folder, and I could see in hear in their voice and see in their eyes that something was happening. And so I asked, and at the end of it, we ended up praying, because that became more important to me than me marketing a membership. And so I love that we don't lose sight of who we are and what we're responsible for. And when people, I know it sounds like an old adage, but when people know that you care more than they care about more of what you care about than what you know. And when you live a life of integrity because you answer to a higher calling, and I love your analogy, Darcy, and that is this: We all know how to behave when the light's on and when the camera's on, but how do we behave when the light is out? And I'll close with this. I try to live every day a life of integrity, and that even in the absence of those who are being taken advantage of, I find a responsibility to stand and be the voice for those who can't provide their own voice. And that's what we do in Legal Shield, I believe. I believe that we're replacing the hopelessness with hopefulness. And this is all God-driven. And so I just so appreciate that I belong to a team who's not afraid to have a conversation about the truth. So thank you so much, Darcy. Back to you.
You're welcome. Thank you, and that's right. It's all about being governed in your heart when no one is watching, because that's who you are. So when a dog barks, it's a dog. That's what it does. When you live on the left side of the screen in success, serving others, living by faith, integrity, bold and courageous, that's the way you were designed. That's normal. So yeah, that's the way you were governed to live. That's you may have received a lie, or you may have developed a bad habit. That doesn't mean that's you. So that's the good news. John Beltry, I see your hand up, and then Steve Hales will go out to you after. John Beltry.
Good morning. Wonderful, wonderful webinar. I really like the follow-up of this webinar to last week's, because last week's was really a call to action. You know, taking that, you know, leap of faith and getting that 30-day or your first 30 days, 90 days started again, and really going into all-out massive action. And I think that when people decide that they're going to do that, sometimes there may be a tendency to fall to things on the right-hand side of what you're not designed to do. And maybe your mind might get a little fearful, or can I really do this, or become anxious and timid. And I think this is a great follow-up to kind of bond with last week, because it really is, okay, here's what we want you to do, but these are the principles with which you must do it. And I really, really like that. That 4-8 principle, if you could put it back up, I just really wanted to see that again. It just is so simple. It's so simple. And this past week I watched my wife go from living in complete fear of getting up and presenting in front of other people and doing the thing that she needed to do the most, to really completely letting go of all that fear and having faith and having a wonderful presentation for the first time in front of a marketplace. And it was just so beautiful to see that kind of fear change to faith and just let go of it. And truly, she's been just a wonderful, like, light of ball of energy ever since then. So thank you so much for this. I love these principles, and I couldn't take notes fast enough. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, John, and that was amazing. Jill did call me and say, I am dealing with a lot of fear about presenting, and so I said, here's the deal, and she goes, the bottom line is, when you get up in front of people, if you're thinking more about yourself, your fear, you know, are you going to be successful, then perfect love casts out fear. So if I have a perfect love for the audience, and I went through with Jill, I said, Jill, have you ever been in an audience where somebody's uncomfortable speaking? Yes. I said, how does that make you feel when you're in the audience and the person is speaking and they're so nervous and they're so uncomfortable? She goes, I feel terrible. I feel uncomfortable. And I said, okay, do you want people when you speak to feel the way that you do? And so I used to be so afraid of speaking. And when I started to think about what the audience feels like when somebody's relaxed and funny and themselves and just being in the moment, not being nervous and their voice is jittery and all that kind of stuff. I remember what it feels like it's a great experience in the audience. So the idea was to shift your mind from you and thinking about you to thinking about others, the audience, and delivering and loving. Perfect love cast out the fear, and she was able to step up. But John said something else that's really important. When you press through and you face that ugly dog that's been, you know, messing your life up, that black dog, and you say, I'm starving you. I'm going to ignore you. I'm not going to live by you. You are not going to own me anymore. I am going to face the truth about me, that I was designed to succeed. I was designed to release this potential inside of me out to a world that's starving for what I have, because I was created for that. I am going to step by faith and do the thing I'm created to do regardless of how I feel. So even if fear is there talking to you, you have to move forward, do the thing, and then what did John say? This whole week she's been like on cloud 9 because she literally tapped into something that she has really been waiting to come out. It's there, it's waiting to come out, and that's the same thing with everybody on the phone. But the doing creates the release of the potential. Until you put a demand on something, you don't even know it's in there. So that's where we go from the right side to the left side. We stop feeding the black dog. We start feeding the truth. And what Brielle said, as far as make it intentional to feed that truth and step into and do the things that are on the left side, even if if it's uncomfortable, you're not used to it, and you will have a new normal. So speaking of that new normal, let's go to Steve Hales, and he's creating all kinds of new normals. Steve, do you want to share any thoughts?
Sure. First of all, I want to speak to how not only is it, can you go back to, can you take the dogs down? Come back to the one with the left and right side. Speak to how you and John, you didn't only speak to me about the life that you saw in me and what I was meant to be and created to be and designed to be, but you refused to believe that all I was a factory worker. You refused to believe that and continued to speak to me what you saw in me, and you saw this entrepreneur that was just dying to come out and dying to be fruitful and to be intentional and not be scared or not be lazy and timid and all those bad things that I'm not designed to be. And I'm also brought to mind the story that you told me about your cousin in prison, how he believed that he was one thing and you refused to believe that and continued to speak to him what you saw and knew that he was created to be. I don't know if you want to share that at all. I don't know how much detail I should get into about that, but that's absolutely what I want to share.
Okay, well that's great because that's a great example. I just had, let me think. Oh yeah, he actually called me, and there's a whole story about him, but his roommate in his cell in the maximum security prison was a Satanist. Okay, so he comes into, and I'm on the phone with them. They have phones in these prisons, but he said, yeah, this guy is the greatest guy. He knows the Bible. He's one of the nicest cellmates I've ever had. And Kurt is telling me the story about the cellmate, and he's a Satanist. Now, this isn't the Kurt story, but this is his cellmate story, out quick. And his cellmate was like, yeah, I'm a Satanist, and on his prison card, he says Satanist. And I'm like, so I'm listening to Kurt's story about his roommate being a Satanist and all this kind of stuff. And when he gets done talking, I say, Kurt, I don't agree with you. I don't agree that he's a Satanist because I know what God created him for. He is not. He's a child of God. He was created by God. He was not created to be a Satanist. I know that, I know that, I know that. And so I'm not going to agree with him. I don't care what he says. I don't care what he tells everybody he is. I don't care that his prison card, he put the title, I'm a Satanist, which is really interesting. And so I'm having this conversation with Kurt. So Kurt gets off the phone, and he turns around and says to his cellmate, wow, I was just on with my cousin. And she's like saying, you're not this, you're not that, you're this. The truth about you is this, this, and this. And these are lies that you've accepted, you've lived in, you've actually made them your identity, but they're not the truth. 3 days later, he walks into his cell, and this guy's on his knees bawling and bawling and bawling. Now, hardcore Mr. I know who I am is just released, and he says, I am not that. I never was that. I met these people, and he went to a bad church with bad people, and that kind of just made him think God was bad. And then he met some other people that, Anton LaVey, have you ever heard of that? It's actually a church called the Church of Satan, and Anton LaVey is the head guy. Well, anyways, he worked with Anton LaVey and blah, 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 and got all this junk in him, but he knew in his core of his core it wasn't true. Anyways, he's broken free. He's completely free just because somebody turned around and said, I refuse to believe what you think about yourself. And I said, no, because I know enough about the Creator and how he made everyone on this phone. So you can't, I'm sorry, but you're just not going to sway me. I don't get tossed to and fro by the little emotions that you're feeling or the little lies that you're living by. I know who you are. I know what you're supposed to do, and I'm going to continue to speak it. And you are eventually going to be that person that's going to be in line with the truth, in line with who you were made to be, and you're actually going to be being it. You're not going to try to be it. You're not going to try to do these things. You're not going to have your little checklist. You're literally, it's going to be transformation from the inside out, where you literally walk it out because you are it. It is who you are. A dog barks because they're a dog. You will be successful and a leader and serve others and live by faith and live with integrity, be bold and courageous, disciplined, persevering, intentional, living in freedom, speaking life out of your mouth, because your mouth was created to speak life, not death. And you'll be fruitful and multiply as a result, because that's who you are. That's not what you're trying to be. It's actually who you are already, but you just don't agree with it. And so that's where this thing that John Veltri said, you've got to change the way you think, because whatsoever man thinketh, so is he. So anyhow, thank you for sharing that. The whole Kurt story I'll have to share another time, but that's another amazing miracle story. I could go on and on and on and on about people that were totally, marriages 3 weeks from divorce that are totally restored and living 10 years later in the happiest marriage ever. So don't think that your situation's special. I just want you to tell, I have to say that. Don't think your situation's special. Don't think that you're so dark or so, far away from the possibilities of being the person you were created to be. Absolutely no way. Kurt, my cousin, was 60 institutions from age 9. Every kind of abuse you could ever imagine. So no way are you too far or have done too much. There is a way that seems right to a man, in the end it leads to death. So we don't want to go the way of yourself, your emotions. They can lie to you, and that's where the enemy lives in. He lives in your emotions and your feelings. So you have to decide to live by a principle no matter how you feel. And that's what John Veltri, what you're doing in your 30-day launch. You're living by a principle versus an emotion, and you're actually feeling all these fears and emotions, and you don't want to go out there again, and maybe this 30-day thing, all these things are running through your head, and that's where I did what I call the lock and load. I locked and loaded in a principle. I said, okay, the principle is every company has to have a grand opening, and in order to have a grand opening, you have to talk to so many people and have exposure in the marketplace. That's what launches your company. So I am going to do this no matter how I feel, no matter what, and I had this thing, this little talk to myself, and because I understood it has to happen. And then if I did it, I had the integrity to look at other people in the future and say, you can do what I did. And it was hard, it was great, but it was the best thing we ever did, and it launched John and I to where we are today. So any other final comments?
Hey, Darcy, this is Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, this is really great. Now, I wanted to talk about the two lists again, the designed to and not designed to. And go back to that, if you would. I was thinking, we all probably have, it's not black and white, one or the other, but it's kind of percentage. Maybe we're followers 80% of the time and leaders 20%, and live by faith 80%, live by fear 20%. And I was just thinking as you were talking that the way you move from the right side to the left side in a disciplined way is to develop habits. And I think it all goes back to the habits book, where you list the habits you want to get rid of, the ones on the right, with the ones on the left. And maybe you do them one at a time, and you say, okay, I'm going to work on this thing and develop a habit, that 21-day thing to get all the way over to the left. And you do that with each one of these things. You probably can't do it all at once. That'd be really difficult. But you can pick one and change one of them or two of them and move from the right to the left. And I think this is a great example of a structure to use together with the habits book to get to where you want to be. So this is phenomenal. I mean, you've given a roadmap here of just how to do that, how to become the person we were designed to be. So that's it. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And this is how you go from the right side to the left side and understand every day, every thought. It could be one every minute. Understand, when you are dealing with a battle that has been owning you, to get the victory, the choice is yours and what you decide to think on in that moment, and it could come to you every minute of every day for the first day. So you're dealing with it every minute and saying, no, the choice is mine. I'm not going to believe that anymore. I'm going to turn. I'm going to become who I was created to be. I'm saying no to the old life. I'm moving on. And then it's every 5 minutes, and then it's every 15 minutes, and then it's every day. You get it, that thought that's trying to take you back. And then it's every 2 days, and then it's every week, and then it's every month, and pretty soon you become this, all of a sudden this new real you emerges that is not battling. But at first it's a battle because you've got these, like Jerry, you're saying, you've got two sides battling each other. You got this side telling you this is who you really are, because look at yourself. You look in the mirror, you see this person, you know, all these things aren't right. You look at your check, you look at your legal shield, you look at everybody else's success. You think badly of yourself, so you're over here on this side. And that you, unless you just, this is between you and God. This isn't you looking left or right at anybody else. That's one of the problems people have, is they look at so-and-so's success and they did such and such. And I'll tell you what, when Brielle launched her business, I protected her from all of that, because I knew if she got a hold of what so-and-so said they're doing, and that person's, you know, sold 20 memberships in 10 minutes, and that makes you just feel terrible. And that's not, you're not meant to compare yourself among yourself. People who compare themselves among themselves are called fools in the Bible, literally fools. And you don't want to be a fool. So don't compare yourself among yourselves. Compare yourself to who you are created to be, period. That's it. That's the beginning and the end. You know, the apple tree doesn't compare itself to the orange tree because it's not an orange tree. So don't go look at Brian Crothers or so-and-so and so-and-so. That isn't that's not your goal in life. Your goal is to be the best you, the right you, a pure, right, excellent, praiseworthy, think on those things, do those things, you. That's what you're meant to be. So we'll close with that. We don't want to be anyone else but the one that we're made to be, and be it fully and fruitfully, and multiply the person you were created to be at the level. So Steve Hales, if you're meant to make $100,000 a year and you're making 40, then you're at 40% of your potential. So you have work to do. Marv Worthy, if you're meant to make $250,000 ring and you're making $40,000 or $80,000, then you're not at your potential. So it doesn't matter if you're at, in John and Darcy Hoffman, if we're at we've hit 450, but we're meant to make $1 million. It's all relative. It doesn't matter what we're making or where you're at now. It matters what you're meant to be, what is possible for you, and for you only, not for you to compare to me or me to compare to you. That will set you free if you understand this is about you. This is about you being the best you, and we're really waiting to see it, because if we all were at full cylinder and full potential, it would be really some amazing world. Everybody living in their own best self, serving the other person in their neighborhood, or if I've got your back and you've got my back, then we're all covered. So that's a great way to end, and good luck for this. Everybody, all the EDs are down in Orlando, and then next weekend our 2 events, and the following weekend our 2 events to build on. So great event in Orlando. And John, any final comments? He probably had to go. So great week, everyone. We'll talk next.
Just a great job, great call. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get off mute, but what an awesome call. And I just encourage everybody, just you know, take a move immediately toward, you know, what Darcy's webinar can do, and really speak to everybody who's on this phone. There's a lot of tremendous leaders, and really we celebrate you guys. We celebrate, you know, the fact that soon you'll be crossing that stage, not only prosperous and fruitful, but, you know, designing a life for generations to come. So great job, Darcy.
Okay. All right, y'all. Have a great week. Be blessed.
Thank you.